We're taking a look at some of the fine print of the budget and some of the key aspects that we should look at. We've also been taking a close look at the economic survey. So it's great to have with us Mr. Ajay, Seth, Secretary, Department of Economic Affairs, of course, in the Ministry of Finance. And it's great to have with us Shri Vivek, Joshi, Secretary, Department of Financial Services. Thank you both so much for being with us. So if I may, I just wanted to start off by complimenting you in the economic survey for some of the thoughts and some of the philosophies which are very poetically written about how we must empower people and empower businesses and give that back to their hands, allow small and marginal businesses in particular to not have to worry too much about compliances to run on their own. A lot of people said that's some of the most poetic language they've seen in an economic survey.
No, the compliments for economic survey goes to my colleague, Dr. Anand Nageshwaran. But
I'm sure you at the Department of Economic Affairs and have been playing a very important role in that.
Being a very cohesive team, discussing on the issues, what are needed, what are things wherein our thought process has to run ahead of the actual policies. That is how it happens. That is the economic survey. They looks at it a more longer term, whereas the budget looks at 12 months. And then, of course, it sets out certain policies for the coming years. So, yes, there are several pieces of economic survey which the budget addresses, and this is a complementary process.
But I think the thought process behind this is something which we heard whispers of in the budget also, as to what is the correct way we should visualize the Indian economy. What is the direction in which we should take it? Should it be more of a trust-based system where we are easing the touch of the government and allowing animal spirits of the private sector and others to unleash themselves? Would that still be the broad philosophy, you believe?
Certainly. That's an approach. The idea is threefold. One, as a developing country with a large population, we have to grow fast and we have to sustain that high growth for a number of years. Maybe over next 2 to 3 decades, we have to keep that high growth. That requires increasing the growth potential of the economy itself. And that is possible only when there's a better trust. Government role is where it is absolutely necessary. And that is what the economic survey does.
Yes.
Brings out that philosophy, and then within the government itself, in the budget, not in the government, but in the budget also, we try to take the economy into that direction. For example, the next generation reforms. What this budget tries to do, partnership with the states, is to sort out those issues, like land-related issues, how we make our land market more efficient, more effective. And efficient is not just in terms of the transactions, but also bringing down the cost so that the land is better utilized.
And those are some of the factor reforms that are really required. Land reforms, labor reforms, the factors of production which have often been inefficiently used in India, which means also utilizing our people. Again, that's a way of not having capital intensive growth, but instead of having more employment generating growth.
Certainly. Now just taking a cue from the Olympics.
Yeah.
We are in a marathon, not in a sprint. If one has to have a marathon, then our economy have to have that kind of a strength. There's a high potential for growth potential, sustaining it, making it more inclusive. Those are the challenges which we are facing.
Mr. Joshi, if I could turn to you. If you look at financial services, the way it's obviously been a major change in the last few years. The banks have become much better than they are. A lot of individuals, including in the middle classes, are now putting more and more their money into the equity markets and not into banks or bank deposits. How do you see the landscape changing?
You see, first of all, if they are not putting in banks and they are putting in mutual funds or equity markets, something still remains within the banking system. Even if I put my money in mutual funds, ultimately mutual fund will also have some deal with the bank whereby they put their money. So the money remains there. Only thing, the banks may not be getting the required low cost, cheap funding called CASA. That has been a concern. But if you look at in the absolute terms, it has increased from last year. It increases. we are still above 40%, which is not so bad, which are quite comfortable. But there is certainly a gap between the rate of increase of deposits and rate of increase of credit. There has been a gap. Deposit growth is around 12%, 11 to 12%, whereas credit growth has been around 15 to 16%. So that is an area of concern. But you see, then in that case, because we are working in a market economy, so banks will have to compete with each other to get low cost CASA. Maybe they will have to reduce their cost use of digital technologies, etc.
But the growing financialization of Indian savings, that presumably is a step in the right direction, or are there any other challenges that you think arise from that?
Yeah, I think growing digitalization or financialization of Indian economy is great in the sense that now banks are devising newer methods of giving credits based on the digital footprints an individual is creating. A very good example and a very successful example is Prime Minister's Swanidhi Yojana, in which we are touching upon the individuals who have never been in the banking sector and they have been provided loans, and based on the utilization and digital footprints they are creating, they are further given.
Last word from you, sir. The state of the Indian economy, next 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, how's it looking?
We are in good shape. At the same time, we have to be taking all necessary steps that our growth is sustained, it is more inclusive, and which this budget tries to address both these imperatives.
More inclusive, both in terms of different classes and communities of people and also regions, because there's been a lot of focus on the East in this time. So it's inclusive growth is what is important. Thank you both so much for joining us, Mr. Joshi, Mr. Seth. Thank you.